This is TJ with Tech Made Easy. Welcome to the channel. I'm all about making things easy, practical, and affordable. Today we're going to be talking about how to swap out our hard drive in my TrueNAS or FreeNAS server. So this particular system here used to be my Plex server. A couple of years ago I got a beefier system, so then I made this my home server. I did have another home server, but it was a really old one, and so I just went ahead and took the hard drives that were in here and made it my home server. Now, because of that, these hard drives in here are fairly old now. They're probably at least 6-8 years old, if not a little older. And so I knew eventually they would start to go. I have an extra one here. There's four 3 terabyte drives in here. There's only about maybe 2 terabytes of storage that's been used so far. This is mostly because this is our home file server, and we mostly store our business stuff on here, and some family pictures and a few family videos on here. The rest of our larger multimedia format stuff is on the Plex server. Now, the reason why I have this here is because not too long ago I did a series. I showed how to put this computer together to have a file server, and this server here the total cost of it was $520. That includes the computer, the RAM, the hard drives, everything. It's a 20 terabyte server for $520. Now, I will admit, I did this before the Chia coin became popular, and so now there's 4 terabyte drives in here. You can't get them quite at the same price as you did before, so you may not be able to build this now for $520, but still $540, $550 that you can still get this machine. So go ahead and check out my video on that. But for right now, the reason why we're here is because I need to replace a hard drive in this system here. Now, I had to pull this one out. Obviously it's not hot swappable, and plus two, I kind of have this in a closet with my other server. And so, but before I did that, I went ahead and recorded the screen so you could see what was going on, and took it offline. So let's go ahead, jump into the screen, and then let's replace the hard drive. Okay, so let's take a look at my FreeNAS. Okay, so about a week or so ago, I noticed that my hard drive was giving me some errors and some sector errors, and so it's time to really replace that hard drive. I've had this server for a long time. These hard drives are at least 6 to 8 years old. It's been running, and it was a Plex server at first, and then I went ahead and took our old file server and I made it our home server, and then moved Plex to another server. So anyway, so what you want to do though is you want to make sure that and what I needed to show here, it is the ADA2 drive. And so what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to go to disks, and we just want to make sure which drive this is. The serial number is right here, and so we just got to make sure that we are taking the right drive out. And most of the time I do use these Hitachi drives or HDST drives. In this case, I do have a Western Digital drive in here. And so, but these two drives are the same manufacturer. They're HDST, and so so I just need to make sure that I'm pulling out the right hard drive. And so this is how you can tell if you need to write down your serial number, or at least the last 4 to 3 digits, so you know that you're pulling out the right one. And so then what I need to do here is I just need to go to Pools, and I need to go to Status. Now, where this drive hasn't 100% failed, it's still online. A failed drive would be offline, and so I can just go ahead now and put this drive offline. Okay, so now that I've taken that offline, we just need to shut down the system. and then I've got to go grab it. It's actually in a closet, so I'll go grab it and we'll replace the hard drive, and then we'll fire it back up. Okay, so I'm going to try as hard as I can not to get in the way here, but this system here I've had for a long time. It's actually a super micro desktop computer, and when I bought it at the time, it wasn't that I was looking for a super micro, it just happened to be one. But it's been great to use as a server. I like this hard drive cage because it just swings out. So it makes it really easy to get to the hard drives. And now what we got to do is we got to look for the hard drive that went out on us. I'm not sure which one it is because I didn't write down like what serial number of the hard drive, of what position I put it in. So I just need to look through these really quick and see which hard drive it is. Okay, so this is, pretty sure this is the one. Now I have these really thick glasses so I can see small print. I have to hold it right up to my eye, but this is the right serial number. So I know this kind of stuff, this part here is probably kind of boring. So the one thing about this computer, I always like it when these computers come with attachments that kind of makes it semi-toolless. So that's what I like about this, is it's kind of semi-toolless. I don't have to screw any hard drives in. I just have to put this thing in where the screws go. Do that real quick. So if you're not familiar with Supermicro, they're a big server company, and it's almost like when they made this computer, they made it with almost like they put some things in it to make it really easy to access the hard drive, as if you're going to be doing a server and might have to be swapping out the hard drives. So now I just have to get this back in. Okay, so I'm just going to throw this back in. I know this part might be kind of boring because, you know, if you've taken a hard drive out before. But one thing I do want to show you in here is, so obviously if you're watching this, you're either running FreeNAS or you're thinking about running FreeNAS or TrueNAS today. They kind of got rid of FreeNAS. TrueNAS is really the same thing. And so, but I do want to talk about one thing here. Now, a lot of people, when I first went to install FreeNAS, I could not believe, and people still do this today, especially with Unraid, is that they use USB drives to put the operating system on. And so there's a lot of failures there because USB drives just aren't made, they're just not made to have on and work all the time. Even though the operating system, once it's loaded, it's not really doing a whole lot to that, but it's still on all the time. And so there's a lot of failures, FreeNAS failures on those USB drives. So I knew right away for me that wasn't going to work for me. So what I did when I first set the system up, you're going to notice this right here. Okay. So what that is, I've got another one right here. What this is a USB SSD hybrid. So this is an SSD drive, but it allows you to plug into a USB port. And this actually is plugged into the USB port on the motherboard there. This thing is great. I've been running this here ever since I set this server up. And like I said, I'm pretty sure it's been close to 8 years, and I have not had a failure on this yet. So that's what I do with all my servers. And I usually will put these in a mirror also. But these things are great. They're also fast. So they get about 300 megabytes per second read and write speed. It's not as fast as an SSD drive, but that's still really fast. And it's definitely faster than than a USB. And so I actually, a lot of times I record some of my videos on these because I do have an external recorder as well for my screen capture. And so I record directly to this here. And then also too, if you want, you can install, say, Windows or something on this, and it's fast boot up time. Anyway, these things are great. I use them a lot. And I think this one here is like 60 gigabytes, which you don't need to run FreeNAS. And I think it's like 25 bucks. So these things are great. Never set your server up with a USB. If you want to save the hard drive space, which I wanted to do here, I didn't want to take the hard drive up. Use one of these USB SSD hybrids. They're awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this case back in, and then I'm going to go ahead and move it to my server room or my closet. I call it my server room. It's more than a closet. It's I store a lot of other stuff in there, so I kind of call it my server room, but because it is more than a closet. So, and then let's go ahead and go back into FreeNAS, and we'll go ahead and make that hard drive active. Okay, so now I've got the system booted up, so we're just going to go over to storage, pools, and we're going to go to status. Okay, so here's that hard drive we put in, and I'm not saying it's a new hard drive. It may have information on it, and it may have been in my Plex server when I was using that as a Plex server. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to hit replace. I've got to tell it that it is this ADA2, and force just means it's going to reformat the drive, because like I said, I don't know what's on it. Whatever's on it, I don't need it. And I'm going to replace the disk. Now this could, it's going to format the disk, but it could take some time to rebuild the RAID array on that disk. They call it silvering, and so I'm not sure how long it's going to take to actually silver this. Right now, it's a good time for me to replace it. My wife's out of town, so she's not using the server, and I'm also doing this at 12 o'clock at night. So hopefully it'll resilver itself overnight. And so at any rate, that is all there is to replacing a failed drive in FreeNAS. Now, one thing I do want to do is I'm going to go back again to this. I want to go in and talk about these drives real quick. Actually, let me go to this tab here. So this particular one, again, this is an SSD. And it's $32, but it's 250 gigs now. They used to come in 32 and 60 gig. I don't know if it's not worth producing those now. So this might be the smallest one you can get, but still $32 to put your operating system on and have a peace of mind that it's going to last. It just blows my mind. Still, it blows my mind that IT professionals we're building servers putting FreeNAS on thumb drives. And I know that the company that owns TrueNas now, or FreeNAS, IX Systems, they really don't recommend you using a USB drive. Obviously people were doing that, and it's just because, and there are some USB drives though that are rated to run longer, and so I know that a lot of people will buy those ones and put operating system, server operating system on those ones. But still, I would just use one of these because you're going to get the performance out of these as an SSD. Now, just so you know, they have changed these a little bit. As far as the read and write speed on this one right here, so the read speed is 400 megabytes, the write speed is 200, and then on top of that, on this model here is kind of their extreme model of that. And it gets a little bit better performance. And this one's also offered in 250 gigabytes, 500 gigabytes, and 1 terabyte. So this $103 is for the terabyte drive. This $74 for the 500. This $50 is for the 256. But the performance is better. I know that a lot of people sometimes have wanted to run, possibly run Windows on a USB drive.
Obviously you wouldn't want to do that, but you could do that on here. You could install it. I'd probably still use an external one. Maybe I might use one of these, especially internally if I need. And if you really wanted to, you could possibly put Windows on this. I mean, I don't know if I would, but anyway, you can see here the read speeds, 500 megabytes. The write speeds are 500 megabytes. Now mine that I was showing you, I know it gets a write speed of somewhere around 300. So they've kind of changed the model and branding a little bit on them, get a little bit better performance and a little bit another different model for that other one. But I just thought I would show you that. It's kind of a golden nugget. Because I've discovered these years ago. Well, I really discovered it when I went to install FreeNAS for the first time, because there was just no way I was going to use a USB. And then I discovered this USB or this SSD USB hybrid. And so the one I have in that server that I showed you is not this same brand. You can't get that brand anymore. But anyway, they're just great. I love these. And if you need a lot of storage, you need it to be fast, but you need it to be small and portable like this one, they're great. Love them. So, okay, so now it's finished formatting the drive. And so now what it's doing, it's what FreeNAS calls it resilvering, and or TrueNAS. And you can see right here it says resilvering, and you can see this spinning wheel here shows you that it's resilvering as well. And so, it's resilvered 11% of it, and right now, my wife is out of town, so she doesn't need access to the server, and plus I'm doing this at 12 o'clock at night, so there's no need for anybody to be on the server, and so that it'll probably be done rebuilding that in the morning. Now. My Plex server, if I had a drive go out on it, it would probably take a lot more time. Now I only have 4 terabyte drives in that one, but I do have 9 drives that are running in a RAID 6 or Z2 on that one. But where I only have about 2 terabytes of information, of course it's going to resilver it a lot faster. But that's all there is to replacing it. It's real easy. In fact, just so you know, when I first set up my Plex server, originally I used a whole bunch of desktop drives. They were 3 terabyte drives, but they were desktop. They weren't server grade or anything like that. I won't say which brand it is, but whatever you use, don't use desktop drives. If you have to go to Western Digital Red, I always use HDSS or HGST. Usually I'll get the refurbished ones, and they lasted me for years, those refurbished ones. And so anyway, it's really important that you just don't use a desktop, because unless you're using Unraid, because Unraid doesn't keep the drive spinning unless you set it up that way. But FreeNAS, the drives are always spinning ready to go. And so yeah, desktop drives in a FreeNAS server, you just don't want to use them. They're going to wear out. In fact, what I did is I did use desktop drives in there. I had 3 drives go out on me. And fortunately, I was only running RAID Z1, which is RAID 5. Fortunately, they only went out on me 1 at a time. If I had 2 go out on me, then I would have been out of luck. I would have lost my data. And so that's when I started ordering kind of enterprise hard drives at that point. And the HGSTs are enterprise server hard drives. And and you can get these 3 terabyte ones probably around between 40 and 50 bucks. 4 terabyte ones used to get around $50. Now it's around maybe $60. Anyway, so that's all there is to it.
Okay, I just wanted to show how easy it is to replace a hard drive in FreeNAS. I just happened to have a real life situation where I needed to replace that hard drive. And again, I've done it before. When I created my first Plex server, like I'd mentioned, I had to end up replacing 3 hard drives. Like I said, fortunately, they didn't all go out at the same time. And they they rebuilt the RAID array great, and this is one reason why I like FreeNAS, and it's mostly because of the ZFS file system that they use. You can use that on Linux now also, but I just am a real believer in FreeNAS, or now TrueNAS, and using it as a file server. And then I run a lot of my apps I run on a different server. And so, but one thing to keep in mind, the bigger the hard drives that you put in your server, and I'm not saying not to do it, I'm just letting you know, if the bigger hard drives you put, let's say you're going to do, you want to do a 50 terabyte server. And so let's say that you get 6 terabyte drives. The reason why I say 6 is because by the time you have redundancy, you're probably going to have less than 50 terabytes. So let's say you get 6 drives and they're 10 terabytes. And let's say you fill your server storage space up, not the whole 50 terabytes. Let's say you have 40 terabytes of information. If you have to replace a hard drive, it could take 3, 4, 5 days just to re-silver or to rebuild the RAID array on one of those hard drives. Just so you know, you can use the server when it's re-silvering. I personally try not to do that, but my video server, I know my video server is going to take, it would take at least 24 hours to re-silver a drive there, because I'm only using 4 terabyte drives. But down the road, I was going to do another server and use 6 terabyte drives, and then have about anywhere between 8 and 16 drives in that server. So I hope also too it was helpful. I don't know how many of you guys know that there is this hybrid out there that's a hybrid USB SSD. Again, these things are great. But this is TG with Tech Made Easy. Have a great day, and thanks for coming to the channel.
Now that was easy.